just moved to a new town. This was a quieter, cleaner, much nicer town than the one I lived in before. Not the sort of town you'd expect to have things wrong with it. There was a very big public park right in the center. It housed rows upon rows of swings and slides, infested with snake-like tunnels that weaved in and around the playground, providing a maze for children to lose themselves in their games. There was even a functioning merry-go-round, which seemed to always slightly be turning, inviting the children to hitch a ride on its platform of twirls. I have to emphasize the fact that it was a quiet, peaceful town. The kind of town where kids could just leave their own house and take a short trip to the park. I had been given strict instructions by my parents that I should come home the second it started turning dark. My life was wonderful, or so it seemed. It was a Friday. I knew the day because I remembered coming home with a large grin on my face, as I knew I had the luxury of a non-stop playing for the next 2 whole days. I did what I always did. I chucked my school bag on my bed and was ordered to change into other clothing. In a matter of minutes, I was ready to descend into a world of fun. Nothing could stop me. The tunnels were my favorite. It was so easy to get lost in them, which made great fun for playing hide and seek with my 2 only friends, Billy and Tom. They were both in my class, and we, like many 8-year-olds, loved any games that filled us with a pure adrenaline. So, we were going to play murder. I don't expect anyone to know this game because we made it up. The rules were very similar to hide and seek, except the one seeking you would find you and have to murder you. It's pretend, obviously. It was nearing winter, as I remember being slightly cold, as I wormed my way around the tunnels, furiously trying to find the perfect hiding spot. Billy was a seeker. Tom had hidden behind the merry-go-round, and so I was alone. It must have been maybe 10 minutes. For an 8-year-old, it felt like a year, when I decided to do what all kids do when they get bored. Give up. I give up, I shouted, my voice echoing throughout the tunnels. I'm in the tunnels and I give up. I heard shuffling from one end of the tunnel suddenly. Now, I don't know why, but I froze still. I didn't call out again, I just waited. Something wasn't right. Billy would always say something before coming in after anyone who was hiding in a tunnel. He'd always congratulate them on being the last to found or for cheating by hiding in the endless maze of tunnels. And I stood frozen. The shuffling grew louder. I could tell it was starting to get dark outside as the tunnels were beginning to lose the little light that they always had and slowly but surely dropping into darkness. I began to slowly shuffle backwards. The shuffling ahead of me grew louder as if someone was, or rather something was way too big for the tunnel now that it was in and trying to navigate to me. Come out. It's time to come home now. A very creepy voice echoed through the tunnels. It sounded like when a grown man talks to small children, slightly higher pitched. This was definitely wrong. I probably would have come out if the voice was outside, but it wasn't. It was coming inside the tunnels. Why would a grown adult crawl inside? As I was shuffling further and further back, The face of an older man appeared in the darkness ahead of me. There were a few patches of hair on his head, and he definitely had the look of someone who hadn't showered in a week or so. I couldn't see what he was wearing, but from what I knew, it was old, tattered clothing. He had a sharp, scraggly beard, which was peppered with dirt. The second we made eye contact, he just smiled, revealing his filthy, underbrushed teeth, which had blotches of brown and black covering them entirely. I panicked, turned around, and began shuffling on all fours as fast as I could, and the shuffling behind me grew louder and quicker. He was chasing me. I sped through the maze for what felt like an eternity. I only stopped when my legs refused to move anymore. I had taken so many twists and turns that even I was completely lost. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to talk. The voice echoed as I pressed my small body in the narrow tunnel and listened. He continued to make soft cooing noises, begged me to come out and present myself to him. I laid in that tunnel for hours, no exaggeration. Even after I heard him leave, cursing to himself and angrily forcing his way out the tunnel, I continued to wait. Thoughts raced through my mind about coming out of the tunnel, only to be met with the same smile that once greeted me. In the darkness of the tunnel, I could make out blue flashing lights outside. I heard frantic voices calling 3 names repeatedly. Billy! Tom! Michael! When I heard my name, my heart slowly began to calm. My parents had come. I easily shuffled out of the tunnels, guided by the wet scrapings along the wall. This is the way the man must have gone. Outside, I was greeted by several police cars, lights flashing. There are groups of adults, concerned looks on their faces. And I recognized 2 of them. My parents. Mom, Dad, I wailed, crying as I ran towards them. They began crying and ran towards me, lifting me off the ground and hugging me so tightly it felt as though I was slowly being crushed. Billy and Tom were taken that evening. They were later found, hidden in a nearby skip, mutilated. They had been brutally massacred. Their skulls were caved in with a large iron bar, and their bodies had deep cuts everywhere. Large pieces of glass found buried into their backs. And what chills me to the bone is that the wet dirt I saw in the tunnels wasn't entirely dirt. It was Billy and Tom's blood. After slaughtering my 2 best friends and making eye contact with me in the tunnel, he just smiled. He had just won the game.